I think he's gonna make it. Looks like we're live.
Yes. So it looks like we are live. Let me just confirm. There will be a recording, so we'll share it also wherever we can. I just want to make sure that we are live on LinkedIn as well. It might take a while. I saw last time. There it is. Looks like we're live, so I'll stick to it. Stick to high tide. Welcome, everybody. My name is Matt, and I have a great pleasure welcoming my friend from the East Coast, Jesse. Jesse, if you want to introduce yourself before I jump into the story, we'll take it from there. I see Angus joined us here. So, Angus, welcome. Well, maybe we start with the introduction. So, Jesse, go first.
Yeah. Well, really excited to do this today. This is actually the first time I've been on a LinkedIn Live, so I'm quite excited about it. LinkedIn is where all the cool kids are these days. I am based in New York. My company is called High Tide. We help drive efficient SMS list growth for brand and drive revenue growth outcomes through integrations with PostScript and Attentive, Klaviyo and SendLane. And we are a relatively new company growing fast, helping mostly Shopify brands to acquire more text opt-ins.
Love it. And I kind of feel I would say jealous, but maybe not jealous, maybe jealous is not the right word, with your guys' background. Like the amount of books you guys have there, and I have none here. I have only one notebook, personal studies, but it's fine.
Jesse and I like to joke. It's our reading lists.
That's smart. You have a big reading list then. All right.
Keep a long reading list. Make sure
But
you got lots of opportunity.
Yeah, but I know you're a reader as well, Matt, because you gave me a good recommendation for a book recently.
I have books. I have books all over the house, but my main library is upstairs, and I might set up a second office there just to have a background like you guys. But Angus, go next if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. My name's Angus. I'm on the High Tide team. I help support all of our agency efforts. So we work with Email Ties is one example of an agency we work with to help grow our partnership with emerging brands.
Love it. And I'll start with a quick story how we actually met with Jesse. It was in New York. We're visiting for family reasons, but also a few e-commerce or direct-to-consumer D2C events. And that event was so unique because we were throwing axes or learning how to throw an axe. And turns out my wife, Claudia, is pretty good at it. I never done it before. I don't know, Jesse, have you done it before?
I haven't, but I feel like I learned a few things that night. One of them was that I'm not great at axe throwing, but I had a great time.
It was fun, but if you think about it, it's quite dangerous because there's alcohol and there was axes being thrown from all sides. It was quite interesting. At the event, you approach us and you were talking about, I couldn't understand in the beginning, like, you can grow your list, SMS list from Instagram, and it's super seamless. You can set it up quickly. And those were like the keywords that stuck with me. So we connected right after the event when we flew back to California, and I just wanted to give it a try. So we hopped on a call, we set up our first pilot project, and the results were incredible. Like we collected 220 plus SMS subscribers, 80 plus orders, with in our case was pretty decent average order value as well, directly from Instagram. So on this live, I really wanted to dive deeper into these three strategies that you shared with me that are working and have worked from almost very beginning with us. And since we love email and SMS marketing, especially SMS marketing recently, since this is the most intimate channel you can build for your brand and stay very, very close with your customers, I really want to dive into these strategies. We have a presentation ready, so why don't we just dive right into the presentation?
Yeah, sounds good. One of the things that got me excited about building High Tide was working in the advertising space for actually more than a decade on programmatic ads and sort of traditional audience targeted ads. Angus and I actually worked together at Google and then at Facebook. And what we were doing at the time was actually building a lot of the foundational infrastructure for ad targeting. In those days, and actually still much of the advertising that flows through the web goes through real-time bidding channels with all kinds of targeting overlaid and, obviously paid campaigns are a huge part of how many Shopify and D2C brands grow. And right as I was, thinking about some of the initial ideas that led to High Tide, this crazy kind of tidal wave of change came and hit all of this technologies that Angus and I were working on at the time. And these were basically undoing a lot of what the companies that we worked at had built, Google, Facebook, and many others, to help brands get almost deterministic level attribution and targeting and drive really incredible results. This like 10 years of growth that, famously, everybody looks back at when you're starting a brand today to say, man, those were the good days when meta ads were a secret and a steal, and they still work, but the job is significantly more challenging. And one of the reasons that it's challenging is a lot of the stuff that marketers have relied on for the past 10 years is going away. The browser cookie, the ability to track email opens, link tracking, mobile ad IDs. All these things have been severely restricted. Severely is actually kind of like a negative word in my opinion. I think a lot of marketers would agree. A lot of these changes are really good in that they give consumers more control over privacy and the ability to choose who they're getting ads from, and make preference decisions that can be respected. And they also come at a time when tons of regulations are kind of like solidifying. GDPR, CCPA, TCPA has been around for a really long time, but it also falls into this mix of just overall expansion of regulation. And what that means is that the phone number, what got me interested in SMS, the phone number is actually one of the few deterministic and kind of persistent identity solutions today. When you look at the business that Klaviyo and Attentive and Postscript and others that rely in whole or in part on phone numbers, those businesses are built on the theory that you can clear your browser cookies, you can use multiple email addresses, but at a moment when you want to choose to give your phone number to a brand, you kind of know as a user, like, hey, if I'm signing up for this thing with my phone number, that's my identity with the brand. I can opt out of it easily. I should be able to opt out of it easily. But the phone number is really standing as one of the few persistent IDs that can live as a way to identify a consumer. And what that also means is that because people are choosy about which brands text lists they're signing up for, overall text messages, this more almost intimate channel of communication performs so much better. You're choosing very carefully what to sign up for, and so you're probably responding to texts in a way that you're not responding to emails. Those things together, and this is sort of the end of my setup, mean that opt-ins, forming a direct connection between a brand and a consumer, is now one of the most important moments for marketing. In a past, to summarize, in the past, we had all these methods for targeting, retargeting, cookies, third-party data. Some of those things still exist, but they're quite a bit less effective. And to really drive results as a brand, you want to be able to reach people that you serve or that you are marketing to, or who are your customers, in a way that's reliable. And that's what gets me excited about SMS overall. So that's the context of why this is like a really cool moment to be in SMS.
I 100% agree. And I have two stories that came to my mind. And the first story was that I was having a call with a multiple seven-figure at this point brand owner, and I asked him when did he start looking into like retention marketing, email, SMS. And he said that once his return on ad spend basically wasn't 4 or 5x anymore, and he had to figure out a way to turn his first-time buyer into a repeat customer in a predictable way. That was a moment where he was like, all right, I think email and SMS, I have to give it a try, I have to figure it out, and started looking into this solution. And 100% agree. And after all, SMS, and that's maybe the reason why SMS is still fairly expensive compared to email, it's the most intimate way of interacting with your customers. I mean, I have Apple Watch on me most of the days, usually mostly for workouts or in counting my steps. But the moment someone messaged me, like a brand messaged me, and I'm subscribed to only those brands that I buy from frequently, the moment I get this message, it's very, 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 very unlikely that I will miss it. I mean, I
That's
have it
right.
on my wrist. I have it, obviously. If you're using Apple devices, you have your iMessage on your MacBook. You have your phone. So I don't even maybe my iPad. I mean, it's omnipresent. Like it's just we call it SMS, but it's literally the most intimate interaction with your customers there is. So 100% believer in SMS marketing, and especially if you're using it on like collecting subscribers on your website, that works already. But if you can add different channels, like leverage a channel that you most likely post every single day, like Instagram, you have your attention there. You're already getting comments, interactions with your customers, or you may be going live on Instagram as the founder. This is very, very interesting. Recently, I've noticed big brands are leveraging retention marketing channels like email and SMS to invite people to these lives. So you're keeping people in your ecosystem. Like even Christian Dior comes to mind. Whenever they drop a new fragrance, they have their expert come on live and explain, like even a webinar, I think, not even Instagram, but webinar that basically educate their customer, their buyers on the product.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, so if you keep people in your ecosystem and get more attention, if people start resharing stuff on Instagram, getting more viewers to your profile, influencer marketing, getting traffic to your profile as well.
Yeah.
Why not use it to grow you basically the most valuable asset in your business, which is your list.
That's true. It's interesting. The play for Instagram for a few years was similar to an own channel in that, when I talked to brands today and I asked them about what, 2, 3, even 4 years ago used to be like, when marketing on Instagram, it was, already probably starting to change, but it was much closer to like a deterministic, or like a reliable way to reach, almost every single follower. Like, I was talking to Brand the other day. I was asking about how reach has changed. And obviously this is one anecdote, but it kind of roughly matches a pattern that I've seen, where reach has changed a lot. Brands are still able to hit, large portions of their audience, and they're, with the new Reels format and this shift to discovery, like content discovery, as opposed to social graphs. Brands, sometimes are far out exceeding the reach they used to have just publishing to their followers. But you raise a good point about like the importance of multiple channels, where any given piece of content on Instagram might reach, greater than 100% of your audience if it goes viral. It may reach less than 1% of your audience if it's has no engagement. And my point being that now, the modern day brand, especially some of these Shopify brands, which are really fast learning, have started to employ SMS, email, Instagram, all as kind of like part of the tool belt, and using each channel to feed to the other instead of thinking about them as these like, perfectly reliable independent channels that can operate on their own. Instead, they're part of this overall machine. And Matt, I know you work on constructing some of these machines. Like, for a lot of the brands you do work for, it's important to take a holistic look.
Yeah, I absolutely. And mapping out the customer journey is very important. As you start growing your list, finding out where are you over communicating with your audience. Maybe you can lower the amount of messages, emails, interactions, or SMS with your audience. But also, in most cases, we're just ghosting our customers. So you have to stay top of mind, and this is a great way to do it. But one last thing I wanted to say before we dive into the 3 strategies is, Gary Vee said in one of the interviews, one of the million videos he posts every month, that now the Instagram as a channel, as a profile, is no longer about like the aesthetics of your feed. Maybe you remember like 4 or 5 years ago, every feed was like beautiful storefront, like this aesthetics, like you were putting together nine posts to make like one image, and that was very popular. And I've seen it, like I've seen so many brands were focused on winning the awards for the most beautiful and attractive Instagram feeds, versus now you don't know when your chances are coming, when one video, one reel will go viral and will give you hundreds or tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of profile visits. You never know. So at this point, you want to optimize your profile and increase your chances to turn that new attention, new eyes into a potential customer. And that starts with giving them something in exchange for their phone number. And if this is so smooth and seamless, like with Hitdie integration, then I think you're giving your higher chance of winning and build your customer base from that. And I have an example I'm mentioning because I have an example in my head from yesterday where we couldn't figure out where's the traffic coming from. And it turns out one of the reasons was that an influencer dropped a video that went like pretty viral, gets thousands of likes immediately, comments, and so many views that people start visiting their profile. And at this point, it just makes sense to to leverage that attention in a good way and grow your SMS list.
Totally. Hearing you guys talk, I think about the excitement around SMS and why it's so important. I mean, for me, hearing you talk reminds me of this one word is like it's fidelity. The fidelity of the data signal that you get from an SMS data point in CRM is, I don't want to bash email. Obviously, I don't want to bash like Instagram ads, but you have to think, you get thousands of ad impressions a day, you get hundreds of emails a day. Most people get tens of texts. It's an intimate channel, and it's important. You use it when you want to touch base with people in the most urgent and important time. And so if you can have that relationship as a brand with a consumer where you're reaching them broadly with ads, somewhat more targetedly with email, and then in a very, very pointed and intimate way with a text message, I mean, that's just compelling, and it's a part of the overall channel mix that you have to prioritize.
100%.
It's a great point. How many, if you guys had to guess, how many brands would you say you're each subscribed to texts from?
Three.
How many brands?
Like excluding, I'm sure you subscribe to some of your clients' lists on a kind of like personal level for brands that you're a direct consumer of. I know there's probably a lot of overlap there, but
3 to 5. Yeah.
If you had to guess,
minimum.
3 to 5. I would
3
say
to 5.
that's based on my experience. Like I said, I love to be in the loop with brands that I buy from frequently. One definitely meat that I ordered online from the farmers. That I always want to know when something, there's a lot of times when something's out of stock. So when that happens, I want to make sure that I'm first to buy. So that's just how we
I think I'm on the I think I'm the same. Like and to me, like we could go into like talking about different uses of lists and stuff probably for another time, but the like timeliness element of it is really important. I think that's similar of a lot of consumers. The overall number, actually, like I kind of was teasing up into this slide, 95% of people are subscribed to less than 7 brands. And that's kind of a crazy figure if you think about it. The email figure is almost certainly like 4x that. It's very easy to to drop into a email marketing list. It's much harder by thoughtful design of these TCPA TCPA guidelines. You really have to think hard about joining a text list. And so like when you're joining that, what did you say, Matt? That is a meat? Is it like a meat list?
Yes, it's a company that it's basically a company that sells meat.
Yeah. So like that's something you care a lot about, and you're going to subscribe to that. So like
Jesse, before you go on, like think about that for a moment, just in the context of the cost per lead that you have for an SMS number. Significantly lower than an email address, and it's significantly more valuable because you have limited mind share in terms of the consumer.
Yep. Exactly. These are if you're doing SMS already, you're probably familiar with all these requirements. These are like the general compliance requirements. It's about making sure people know they're signing up, they're explicitly doing it. They can leave easily if they want to. It's quiet hours and opt out enforcement. And overall,
One
like,
thing I wanted to say, if I
yeah,
interrupt you, Jesse, is that I remember when we first started offering SMS or building SMS with Claudia, we were so scared. Like we were so like thinking what's going to happen. Like we're actually texting people. Like this is crazy. Like how can we do that? And then like you said on the previous slide, like you make it so clear and so simple for them to unsubscribe, but yet there's still a big portion of people that will subscribe if they find value in it. And especially if you don't, if you don't abuse it, it can definitely make it a big contributor to your lifetime value.
for sure. For sure. That's 100% true. Yeah. Angus and I have been talking a lot recently about lifetime value and how SMS fits into the overall marketing stack. And the topic that Angus, you just touched on, this like cost of acquisition. You've been coaching and educating me a lot on the kind of paid ad side of things in terms of cost of acquisition. One topic that I think is getting more airtime these days, like in the last year or so, is the cost of acquisition as it relates to discount strategies for SMS opt-in. So as almost, I think everybody in e-commerce is familiar with, the typical discount strategy is give something between 10 and 20% on discounts for pop-ups for SMS subscription. That works really well. That's a strategy that brands should keep doing. But in a way, if over reliant on end of kind of bottom of funnel pop-up experience when people are headed over to the site, what we found is that brands are missing substantial numbers of people that are well engaged with them on social, that for whatever reason haven't found that moment to pop over to the site and plug in their phone number, but they're actually willing to subscribe, that have like really high intent for products, are interested in some sort of value exchange. And so the kind of like final note before we get into some of these three strategies is that instead of waiting for bottom of the funnel, there's a real opportunity to move people from social directly into your SMS list in a way that is native to Instagram, matches their behaviors on Instagram, and really critically, like, it doesn't compete with the stickiest surface known to man, which are these algorithmic content engines. Instead, it like kind of layers on top, and we'll get into what that means in a bit more. But Matt, you're an expert in growing lists. You've seen a bunch of strategies. I know that some of the cashback strategies are newer. Anything else I missed that's like exciting on the list growth side?
One thing that I will say to this is that we shouldn't be judging the welcome. I call it the welcome experience. It starts with like the moment you see the pop-up on the side or on Instagram, and you consider entering your email address and your phone number. That's when the welcome experience starts for new customers, people that have not bought your products yet. They're not on your list. These are the people that we target with these sign-up forms. And one thing that we shouldn't be doing, and we were guilty in the beginning as well, is like thinking from your perspective, like, oh, if I'm buying for that product, this pop-up is interrupting my customer experience on site. Well, it turns out that if you let go of that ego and start basically testing, even for 2-3 weeks, or depends on your traffic. If you have a lot of traffic, might be a couple of days. You'll be surprised that one of the biggest findings I had was doing the screen takeover for desktop. I was like, that's never going to work. Like, people must hate it. But the data told me otherwise. I mean, we literally were able to double our email and SMS subscriber sign-up rate, just by doing the full screen takeover on desktop, and maybe even expanding the pop-up by adding some questions up front. Instead of giving them immediately the field to fill out their information, we would ask them questions, and that can personalize the experience. So instead of texting them, hey, here's a 10% off discount code, you can text them, hey, you were looking for X products or X categories. Here's the link for it. By the way, you still have your 10% discount. So at this point, I don't have to look for, on your website. You don't send me to your main page or your collection page. I know you already serve me what I'm looking for, and that would be the best hack I can tell you for the welcome experience for your customers.
That's smart. Was that a brand that has a large number of SKUs?
With it doesn't have to even be so. If you have not too many products, even if you have more, let's say 5 products, most likely you have 3 or 4 problems that each of these products will solve. So you can ask about the problem that the customer has, not their preference. Yes, if you have many SKUs, if you have many products, many categories or seasonal categories, then for sure you can do product specific or category specific question. But if you have few products, maybe you're solving a product. Maybe if you sell drinks, right? Maybe you solve focus, calmness, like you want to calm down, you want to have better focus or hyper focus, or you just have too much anxiety. So 3 questions, pick one, and you then serve the product that would solve each product if you have 2-3 drinks. So it doesn't really matter. You can always play with it. The point is that you're collecting information. You can build segments around later. You can build campaigns around. You can then text them a link to your YouTube video where you explain how X ingredient usually calms your nervous system, and that's why we include it into our product and continue the education.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wonder, do you know of anyone? So like, I was thinking through that, I would call it zero party data collection. The idea of like, what are you interested in? What are your preferences? And for anyone that's not familiar, zero party being a situation in which a consumer is proactively sharing information with you. So like, first party data is any data that's collected when someone's interacting with your own website, for example. Third party data is data that comes from somewhere else that you're able to tie to that consumer in some way. Zero party is someone like saying like, hey, I want you to know I care about my clearing up my skin. I don't care as much about the shininess of my hair if I'm thinking about like a beauty solution, for example. What were you going to say, Matt?
I wanted to say that it's funny that you mentioned that because what I just described was the basically upfront, like on the front end, collecting zero party data, but you can also do it post purchase. There's platforms for that. And I was setting up one survey, and the question was for first time buyers, and I asked where were they coming from, and surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, I think was 39% after initial data came through. Well, I didn't set up today. Today I was reviewing the first findings from, I think, a couple of days running, and 30-something% said they came from Instagram. So there you go.
Wow. That's cool. That's cool. And that was after they purchased. That's the question.
For the first time.
Yeah. Huh.
And
Cool.
and for those who are still skeptical about it, because when we hear about surveys, we see this long survey that looks like Google form, and you have to fill out so much information, and it's time consuming, and no one wants to do it. Or maybe the surveys that you do after calling, your favorite institutions, governmental institution, they're gonna, how would you rate your experience with us? And you continue 5-minute sequence instead of 5 seconds. The surveys that we talk about here, or the post zero party data collection, it's super seamless. Like literally takes you 3 seconds. You can start with one question, at least giving you some valuable information, and you can build these for any segment. So someone who bought for the first time shouldn't see the same question as someone who's buying for the 5th time. And at this point, you maybe don't ask anything at all, or just ask something, maybe offer them some VIP treatment, right?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I always think about when I think about like feedback surveys, I think about the best feedback experience I've ever had. I've had multiple times. It's when I'm at the airport and I'm leaving the men's room, and there's that thing that has 3 buttons on it, and it's green, yellow, red, and it's so easy to give feedback, and it's almost like fun because you're like, I want to hit that button,
there is a restaurant, or where was it? Restaurant or something else, that when you hit that button, when you hit the green button, like we were satisfied, the whole team will scream, "Oh, Trader Joe's or the burger
Nice.
the habit burger, I believe here in California. I think that's where it is. Where basically when you tell them that you were satisfied, everyone will like say thank you or something like that. The whole like kitchen and everyone that
That,
works there. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I guess that could be like, the e-commerce equivalent could be like, you get a personal, like a personalized email from the founder, a day later that's like, hey, really happy, you're enjoying the products. This is why I made them, and I put special thought into this part of the experience or something like that. It could be a nice personal touch, especially for a founder-led brand. Like Ali Tura is a good example of that.
absolutely, yes. And if you do this habitually, you build great relationship. I think wasn't it Taylor Swift that was responding manually to her fans in the very beginning when she was starting out?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, that's when someone attributed like their huge success and why there are so many people obsessed with her, because she was very close with her audience from the very beginning. And in ecom, the same thing. If you're a founder-led brand and you want to stay with your closer to your customers, leverage every opportunity you can.
Yep. Totally. Okay. Matt, I was going to talk a little bit about a related topic, which is collecting opt-ins, back again to collecting opt-ins from Instagram.
Yes.
And I was going to share a couple of the different like existing collection methods, um, and hit on those. Anything else we want to hit before we do that?
No, I think we can jump right into it. It's a good
Cool.
conversation so far. I think we're all enjoying it.
Cool. Okay. So, um, something that's a little further than I want to go. I don't go to. There we go. All right. So this is kind of just sharing what Angus and I have learned so far with High Tide. When we started, as a team exploring the idea of capturing opt-ins on Instagram, or I like to describe it as converting your Instagram followers into SMS subscribers. Took a look at what people were doing, and there was basically four strategies. The first strategy was the one that everybody kind of knows, link in bio. This could be driving from a giveaway or like a sale offer or product release type piece of content. And many brands still do this, asking the user to go to a link in their bio, click through a couple links, and then ultimately fill out a form or find the associated content with that offer. The pro side of things is this is so easy to install. It's like just there. Like you're not posting content that you're not sure if it's going to reach anyone or not. You just change out a link. Everyone knows how to use a link. On the con side, we have talked to a lot of brands about this stuff, and there's a lot of awareness that when folks are, enjoying content on Instagram, especially looking at particular posts or like specifically looking at posts from a brand and exploring items, it's really hard to move from that like typical Instagram experience into finding a link and following that link. So there's a lot of drop off from the point at which someone like sees one of these call to actions for a link click to when they actually find the offer. I've actually seen some brands where, I'm looking at a lot of this content on a daily basis. I've seen some brands where I'm following the call to action. I make it over to the link in bio, and it's the fifth or sixth item after like 4 or 5 other things, which or like probably more exciting than the thing that I was trying to find the link for. And I would never have made it to this like sign up link if I hadn't been so focused on just like learning how this was done. Above that, there was like, just to use, your example again, this is a fictional one. It's like, see our collaboration with Taylor Swift. And then the next link is like, get $500 worth of credits for our products. And then like somewhere buried 7 links below was like, enter the sign up for that thing that you initially came from. I think you lose a lot of people, and it's just a really it's a tough way to move people from the best surface in the world, which is Instagram or social, into a link experience. And then finally, this is almost so obvious that it's I hesitate to go too deep. When you are asking people to leave content to click on a link in your bio, the kind of general consensus is that it's giving negative feedback to your post distribution, because, if there's a call to action in the middle of a video to hit up the link in bio, just simply by what we know about the Instagram algorithm, which rewards view through time, it can have an effect that you're not, necessarily want as a brand. So that's kind of the first method. Still good in certain cases, and obviously there's many operational reasons why a link in bio is critical to the business. Certainly not advocating not to use link in bio, but when you're collecting data, it's not always the best place to collect data.
Agreed. And that when it comes to text to join, I've seen many billboards actually that use that, where you have the number on a billboard where you can text. But yeah.
Yeah, text to join. I'm gonna actually skip over story link. Let's go right to text to join. Story link is easy. Pros, it's easy to post. Cons, the story expires, and it also asks people to leave Instagram. Text to join is a little more complicated. Text to join is great. The reason you see it on the billboards is it works. There's the sort of cousin of text to join, which is a QR code to join, which I personally like better. And, I know a lot of brands are pretty aggressively working on QR programs. For the text to join, the downside, the pro side is it's very TCPA friendly. You don't need links. You actually don't need anything other than a call to action that includes the phone number. On the downside, there is a fair amount of friction. If you think about this from a user perspective, you have to see a piece of content. You have to either remember or switch back and forth between wherever you saw that content that has the call to action with the number, plug it into your phone. You have to, first of all, type in the 4 or 5 numbers properly. If it's like a short, if it's a short code, which is the best case scenario. I know I'm always kind of fat fingering and typing the wrong numbers. And then, finally, at the end of the loop, you're in. Still a really important method, but it is, let's be honest, it's pretty high friction. That's why I personally like when I'm joining, trying to join a list from, especially the in real life scenario on a billboard or on a drink can or whatever, I'm doing the QR code if I can.
I agree.
All right. So the final method, this is one we care a lot about, and that's using direct messages for list join. Direct messages are obviously like kind of a cousin to text. It's an intimate channel that a brand can connect with a consumer over, and it very closely mirrors your personal communication with friends and family, so it's easy to understand. On the pro side, it's strong positive feedback to the algorithm. So no direct math here, but we know that these sorts of engagements are highly valued by the social platforms. And it's pretty frictionless. You're doing something that you're used to doing quickly, and you don't have to remember numbers. You're often just kind of hitting message. So I've actually met a bunch of brands that do this manually, especially like in the early days. Matt, you were talking about some of the celebrity growth hacks in the very, very early days, like just doing things that don't scale. Some brands that I talk to will direct message users as they follow. You can't automate this in a safe way, but if you're still growing and you're under 5K followers, it's actually kind of reasonable to have someone spend 10 minutes to do this. But once you scale, it becomes really difficult, especially if you're texting people to, finalize a giveaway entry, for example, or someone that raised their hand about wanting to get access to a product in a drop post or something like that. It can really add up. Those 10 seconds can turn into a lot more work. And this one, we talked about some of the benefits already. When it comes to automating direct messages, this is where the really exciting stuff happens. It used to be that automating direct messages on Instagram was kind of like gray hat stuff. Like there's a bunch of companies that had built the ability to send DMs, send them at scale, and they were doing so against the terms and conditions of Instagram. And so it was pretty dangerous. What many people don't know, I think education is growing, but what many people don't know still today, based on my discussions with brands, is that Meta has actually rolled out an API or a programming interface that developers can build onto that is encouraged by Instagram as long as you follow certain rules. And the nice thing is that, like, in many cases with Meta's programs, Meta has built very, very clear rules that are very easy to follow, and that they ask developer partners like High Tide to build to. And so a few of those rules are as follows, just to give you a taste. If you're messaging people in an automated fashion, you have, number one, you can only react to incoming DMs or comments. So you cannot, for example, like message everyone that's following you all at once in bulk. These messages are on a one-to-one basis, but they can be automated. So you can respond to a comment. Say you want to respond to that comment within 24 hours. You can set up certain rules for keywords. Say you wanted to say like, hey, anytime someone leaves the word order on a post, or some sort of negative feedback on a post, let's get them a quick reply that says like, hey, we're looking into this. That sort of activity is great for the customer experience side of things. On the marketing side of things, these APIs are really great for getting people fast replies for things like signing up for SMS, signing up for email, signing up for other lead strategies. For SMS, which I am, particularly focused in for all the reasons that we previously talked about, there's a really great way to kind of like measure the success of these direct messaging programs. Number one, it's okay, how many new subscribers can I drive? Number two, it's how much are those people purchasing after I've gotten their consent to market to them. And you can look at things like unsubscribe rates, average order value, and that kind of layers on top of what the metrics that brands are typically looking at on social, which are your general engagement and follower growth methods. And so you're left with this really amazing opportunity that Meta has allowed us to build to, which fits with how consumers are already interacting with brands and can drive some really exciting business results. In our corner of the world, that's SMS opt-ins into PostScript or into Attentive or Klaviyo. But there's a lot of cool stuff happening in the messaging API space.
Yes, and I wanted to mention about the one thing that caught my attention here on this particular slide is the net new subscribers. That was interesting. That was one of the first questions, if you remember, that I had. Like, how do we differentiate, from people that are already on our list, so we don't, basically double that, versus people that are new that we know that they came from Instagram or our Instagram engagement, and that dashboard was is still very, very simple to understand and very clear. So that was a big win for me.
Yeah. The same APIs or the same like method of making your platform open and giving developers the ability to build on top of it that Meta has done with these APIs. The text platforms have also done so. PostScript and Attentive and Klaviyo, they all have really clear documentation to allow us to sync up certain data on behalf of brands. And one of those things that we use all the time is checking to see if someone is a new subscriber, in the process of collecting opt-in or, moving that consumer to text opt-in. We can also, to your point, check to see if they're a new subscriber or an existing one. And just that simple action, we can do really cool stuff. Like we could, if someone goes to enter and, to enter a notice for a new drop for a new product that's coming up, if we already know that we have their number, and by we I mean the brand, we could send them a different message. We could say like, hey, we got you. We signed you up for this drop release. By the way, have you checked out our TapCart app, or have you checked out our whatever program we have going? And that's really cool. So we're kind of at the beginning of what can be done with this messaging program.
That was my next thing I wanted to share. Yes, I love that you can personalize the experience, so it doesn't sound really like AI would be messaging you. You can make
Right.
it conversational and based. If someone is on the list, you can have a different sequence. That was that definitely can still drive significant traffic, or boost any other activities like you said, membership, app recharge, whatever that your subscription maybe,
Yep.
whatever that you're trying to push. That is a great way to do it.
Yep. Totally. I had one direction I could take us in. I could show a couple examples of campaigns that I've loved that are like direct message oriented. Or we could jam on like general takeaways. I know we
Show
have
us
a few
example.
more minutes. Is that right?
We should be good on that. I don't think it's gonna kick us out of the room, but yeah, let's go and show the maybe show the examples. I always like the examples, and I think that's how you really educated me on the platform as well. So I can imagine others can resonate with it as well, and we can chat about that.
Sounds good. All right. Let's show some examples. So I'm going to pick 3 because we talked about 3 strategies. And the first one I want to show, this one's kind of what I would call like a no-brainer strategy. This is one of my all-time favorite campaigns from one of my favorite brands called Seek. They sell some incredible juicy proteins. They compete with a kind of like your classic chocolatey protein and give a juicy flavored experience. They have watermelon and their newest flavor is grape
Wow.
and a whole bunch of cool proteins. So check them out. I
I
feel like Matt.
I have to immediately send it to my wife because she definitely would be sold on it immediately.
Well, believe it or not, a lot of people are sold on it because they have an incredibly engaged Instagram audience with people that buy these new drops to a sellout status
Wow.
quickly when they release new flavors. And so the no-brainer part of this was we worked with Seek on their watermelon wave flavor release, and the way that they used High Tide, which you could also do with manual messaging if you wanted to as a brand. Um, we happen to handle high volumes of comments, and so we save them a ton of time by automating this. They had a very simple call to action. They were like, hey, we're sold out of this flavor that everybody wanted. They did a post on it. People didn't need to go over to the website to discover it, and they said comment a watermelon emoji and we will notify you when it's back in stock. The comment enables High Tide to send a private DM from the brand to the person that commented immediately. And that message in this case said, hey, I got you. What's your phone number? We then moved everybody into a segment. And when the product was available again, the people got the text and many of them purchased. So that
And
was
and you
simple
can
and
sell out
cool.
immediately. It's so dope because you can go from one sellout to another sellout and
Exactly. As they have. They're growing really fast and rolling out a bunch of new
love it. Yeah, that's
flavors.
pretty interesting. Yeah, because you normally and people like a lot of brands struggle with that, like what to do when products out of stock. Some brands will keep it and collect orders and then let customer know, hey, we're a little bit delayed, and they wait for the product to arrive. But this is a great marketing strategy. You can leverage the fact that you're sold out, so your cognitive biases are going to kick in. Your brain's going to tell you like, wow, it's in demand, people are buying it all the time, and it's sold out again. No way, I
Yeah.
have to get on the next round, I have to get it.
Yeah, it works. It works especially for brands that are, riding the hype of new like product innovation, new products. Okay, example number 2 or strategy number 2. This one is, I think, the least like the highest potential, least utilized feature that Instagram has. They have something called frequently asked questions or a question suggestion. What this is if you're interacting with an Instagram account and you've never messaged with that account before and you go to DM them, the first time you do, there can be, if a brand has activated it, a menu of FAQs. And historically, that menu is used for certain things like customer support request or apply to our ambassador program. And those are great things to do. What we do with a whole bunch of brands is use this button to start an automation sequence. So we have many brands that have one little of these buttons that says request a discount or sign up for our VIP list or get early access to our products. And they get a lot of engagement because they're like kind of prompts that are sitting there. And these brands are thinking of this experience as the Instagram equivalent of their on-site pop-up, where they turn it on once, they can optimize it if they want, but otherwise it's enabled. It takes 2 seconds and then it collects subscribers over time, typically high intent subscribers, really high engagement subscribers, because you have to be pretty interested in the brand to go to message them. And this is like, I don't know why every brand doesn't have this thing enabled, because it's very simple and quite powerful.
100%. I'm looking at the data here, and that definitely works as well. Good strategy.
Cool.
The opt-in rates are pretty strong, I have to say, on comparing to like typical sign up form on a website.
Yeah, totally.
That's because people, hang out on Instagram probably a lot more than they even think they do. If you look at the screen time,
no, that's true.
Will be on top of the list.
That's true. I was a long time, like, side note, I was a long time skeptic of screen controls, because for a while I was like, you know what? No, if I need to like pare down on my screen time, I can make that decision myself. And about a year ago, I installed an app called it's called 1 Sec, and it I can set my limits on things, and it doesn't block me from using an app, but it will ask me to wait like 4 or 5 seconds, and it says like take a deep breath. Like, so when I go to open up Twitter, for example, it'll be like take a deep breath. And half the time I'm like, do I really want to look at Twitter right now, or is there something better I can do? And that's just a really cool tool.
What, the app is still active?
Yeah, it's growing really fast, I think.
You have to text me the link after.
I'll text you the link. It's 1 Sec, ONESEC. But really cool. But that speaks to the power of these surfaces. And it's like, you're going to ask a consumer to like leave that experience where they're getting dopamine hits of great content and go like fill out your Google form. I don't think so. But a conversation, can be much more effective. All right, I have one more for you. Do we have time for one more example?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, let's do it. So, this is a giveaway. On its surface, you might be, looking at this and be like, okay, giveaway, I got it. I've seen them a million times. What's cool and different about the giveaway format when it comes to direct messaging is we can move, just like that seek sellout example, we can move giveaway entries into a direct message. So you can, for example, hit someone up the moment they've tagged their friend in this post. If this was, this one happens to be a comment to crab emoji as the entry, because it's a fantastic Maryland apparel brand called Route 1 Apparel. But if it was asking for a tag, you could message the person that tagged their friend, immediately thank them directly, and offer them something else. You might offer them more entries for an SMS sign up. You might say like, hey, glad you entered the giveaway. Here's a little bonus for you. Here's 10% off. Here's, $5 towards your next purchase, or here's like a free shipping code. And so the point of this example is to say, here's a strategy that many brands are already doing on a regular basis because it drives certain value around follower growth or engagement. You should consider enabling a direct message strategy on top of this campaign type, and then measure the results that come from it. So what what we do, for example, at High Tide is you run this campaign and we collect those numbers by way of getting them opted into Postscript or Attentive or Klaviyo. And then, on a 30 or 60 day basis, you as a brand can check to see the returns from this giveaway. In the past, you would be like, all right, my returns were a follower growth. I saw, 2% spike on this day. Like, great, let's do another one next month. Now you can say, okay, of those giveaway entries, I got 40% of them converted, 50%, 60% of them converted to SMS, or maybe it's 20%, depending on how it performs. How much did those people spend? How many of them were net new phone numbers and net new revenue, and how many of them were, kind of retention oriented? So this is a really cool play that is, hopefully piggybacking off stuff that you as a brand are already doing. And this is actually the similar format to what we did with Alitura.
55.4% sign up rate. Thank you very much.
That's what we got. That's right.
That's
I remember that because when we crossed that 50% mark, I was quite happy.
Yeah, same here. And one thought or two thoughts that I had with it, like there was a lot of, or I remember there was, I don't know if they still do it, like literally like these big influencers like the Kardashians, they had the separate entities like LLC set up to do giveaways on socials. And you could pull together 40 or maybe even 400 accounts, because it was super expensive. Like one giveaway, it was weekly, I believe weekly or twice a month, would be like 50,000, 40, 50,000 something ish. And they would give away like a lot of Louis Vuitton stuff and whatever. And I know that a lot of brands fell into that, I would say, trap still, because we tried it a few times with various brands. We did one point a 30 email sequence, like a super long sequence for these customers just to figure out how to convert them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like outrageous. So we basically put together our best campaigns into it, so they have like an amazing experience over the first 60 days. And honestly, like, was a huge flop.
Yeah.
So that didn't work. And if you can leverage, like, you don't need millions of new followers immediately, because that's what essentially was happening. You would get like hundreds. You could get. I saw it
too wide.
100,000 followers, but
yeah,
after 2 weeks you'd go back to your initial state.
That
working,
and it's a really important point.
I rather have 200 new SMS subscribers that I know I can see on the dashboard, and I can simply track their path, the customer journey, and know that I added another $10,000-$15,000 new revenue from it, and I can calculate my ROI on that, rather than having 20,000 comments and basically maybe one customer or two customers and spend. That's the biggest thing. You would spend a lot of money on these giveaways, right, to make it happen. So that's one thing. But on the other hand, imagine you would actually do something for an influencer-based, brand like, I don't know, Kanye West come to mind with his list, the recent drop he did, where he texted like the results. If High Tide would be plugged into a brand like that, that would print.
Yes. Yeah. The best campaigns that we've seen so far have been actually kind of constrained in a way. Like you were describing these like huge, like more sweepstakes oriented campaign, like celebrity campaigns. When you can do something that's like really tightly aligned with your brand, so you're attracting people that were already influencing your brand, already interested in your brand, and can be influenced to do a sort of zero party data exchange, tends to perform really well. The last thing I'll say is what was eye-opening to me. We launched this product and we were like, we wouldn't shut up about new subscribers. We were like, oh, it's all new, new customers. That is true. But the average campaign, like we actually looked at these numbers the other day, the average campaign on High Tide, at least with today's numbers, sees 8% of opt-ins are from returning subscribers. So people that were on the list already, then they churned off and they were like, hey, this, not for me, too many texts, whatever. Now they're back, and we know that they're back, and we know that they are returning from churn. And so we know they're probably a little more sensitive. Maybe let's hit them with fewer sequences, maybe only send them the most important texts. But we've actually earned the right to have them on our list again, by nature of that they've gone through this opt-in again. And so it was really exciting to see this is not just about new customers. Yes, that's a big part of the mix, but it can also be a pretty important retention play. And that also goes for, it's not just people that have subscribed off, but it can also be filling out a profile on a customer that you have, where we, maybe in our Shopify database, we have their email and we have marketing consent. We have their phone number and we don't have marketing consent. With a campaign like this, we can move into marketing consent on the customer who we already kind of had in the mix. We already know them, and now we've earned the right to send them text as well when we previously couldn't. So that's pretty cool.
I didn't know about that. Yeah, that's pretty.
I see Angus has to bounce.
I love it. On that note, I am going to bounce to the next meeting. But
all right,
great stuff, guys. Thanks for having me.
Jamming.
Yes.
Yeah, really awesome. Well done.
See you, man.
See you, Angus.
See you.
Cool. Well, on that note, I've probably rambled more than my fair share. Matt, is there anything else that you wanted to hit?
No, I think we covered a lot. There was a power hour for sure. I'm happy about the outcome, and we shared a lot of things that takeaways for a lot of brands out there. Where can people find you if they have questions about growing their SMS subscriber list on Instagram, about the strategies, what's working really well? Maybe they have some specific questions for their brand. Where can people find you so that you will respond in a timely manner?
Yes. Okay. So I am on both LinkedIn and Twitter. I tend to be really responsive on both. My LinkedIn is, if you search Jesse and High Tide, just like it's spelled down here, you'll be able to find me. My last name's Clemens, Clemmens. And on Twitter, search my same name and you'll find me. And I'd be happy to chat and really interested to meet anyone that is interested in this kind of growth.
Love it. Yes, it was great to chat with you today. Jesse, you're always welcome to come over to California if you get tired of horrible weather on the East Coast. And whenever you visit New York again, we'll make sure to meet up again. Maybe we'll go back to throw some access and you'll get better this time.
I'm in, man. I'm in, and you'll see me in a nice summery shirt like you have, not in a New York hoodie. Let's do it.
Yeah, we had beautiful weather the last couple of days, in the 80s, beautiful sun, no clouds, so feel welcome.
I'm on the next flight.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And
thanks to everyone that joined.
Take care.
All right. Bye.